Now, Toronto, you have been able to accomplish something this season that I truly didn't think would be possible. One, you're worse than the Buffalo Sabres right now. The Buffalo Sabres are ahead of you guys in the standings. And I'm not talking after 1 game or 2 games. No, we're 20 games into the season, and the Buffalo Sabres are currently better than the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then number 2, you're the worst team in the Eastern Conference. I knew the loss of Mitch Marner was going to hurt this team, and I'm actually pretty sure in one of my older videos, I mentioned that without Mitch Marner, the Toronto Maple Leafs would miss the playoffs. If I can find that clip, I'll insert it right here. I doubt they're going to re-sign Mitch Marner, and if they don't re-sign Mitch Marner, I am going to make this claim right now. Y'all might think I'm overreacting when I make this claim, but if the Toronto Maple Leafs don't bring Mitch Marner back to the team, I think there's a good chance they miss the playoffs next season. Yep, I've said it. If the Toronto Maple Leafs don't bring back Mitch Marner, I think they'll miss the playoffs. But even still, I did not expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to be this bad. Now, yes, they're dealing with a handful of injuries right now, but there is no excuse for you guys to be this bad. Like the worst team in the Eastern Conference? No, that's crazy. Like I know a thing or two about bad teams. Like my St. Louis Blues are one of the worst teams in the entire league, and they are 1 point back of the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. Nah, you guys are definitely the biggest disappointment so far this NHL season. So you know what? We're rebuilding Toronto, but we're not just going to rebuild them any normal way. Nope. Every player on this team is going to be traded away for rookies. We are bringing in rookies and rookies only. There was a handful of guys that had no movements and no trade clauses. What I did was I just gave them a 29-team no trade. So William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Johnny T, they can be traded to 3 different teams. And we're not just going to stop at trading guys on the current Toronto Maple Leafs roster. Every player in this system will be traded for rookies or picks. So without further ado, we might as well make trade number 1. And when it comes to trade number 1, there's one guy we have to trade away first. And obviously that is going to be Austin Matthews. Now, which 3 teams is Austin Matthews going to be willing to join? The Carolina Hurricanes, the Minnesota Wild, and the New Jersey Devils. Now, which of those 3 teams are we going to trade Austin Matthews to? Well, I guess we're about to find out. Now, when it comes to trade number 1, this is going to be a massive loss when it comes to trade value. Austin Matthews has to be traded away at 50% retained. If not, the Minnesota Wild would be over the salary cap for next season. So what we're going to do is Zeboyam, Yurov, Jesper Wallstedt, and 2 first rounders are going to be acquired from Minnesota. They're going to be receiving Austin Matthews at a cap hit of $6.6 million. That's an absolute steal for them. But you know what? This is basically the best package we could have gotten. The deal we would have made with the Rangers would have been significantly worse than this. We couldn't even make a deal with the Carolina Hurricanes because of the cap situation. So this is the best thing we could have gotten for Matthews. So with trade number 1 in the books, let's go ahead and move on to our second deal. But before we do that, if your team is currently better than the Toronto Maple Leafs in the standings, and there's a handful of teams better than the Maple Leafs, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think as of right now, there's only 3 teams worse than the Maple Leafs. Outside of those 3, everyone's better than Toronto, and I don't think we were really expecting that. Now, when it comes to our next deal, that's going to be featuring William Nylander. We're also going to trade Nick Robertson and Scott Laughton, also known as Sean Laughton, over to the San Jose Sharks. Michael Misa, Sam Dickinson, Quentin Musty, and 2 first-round picks can be acquired. Similar to the Austin Matthews trade, this is basically the best package we can get, and San Jose is going to say no because they don't want Nick Robertson. Actually, they don't want Scott Laughton. They're fine with Nick Robertson. They'd rather have a defenseman, and I can probably give you that. So who is a defenseman I could trade away? Brandon Carlo, I could throw you in the deal, but how about we do Jake McCabe instead? I'll send this package over to San Jose. They're saying no. I'm a little bit shocked at that, but I'm also not. So how about I do a deal like this? I'll throw a 3rd round pick in the deal. Is that going to make the difference? They're saying no. We'll throw in a 7th rounder as well, and that's going to be enough to get this one done. So Michael Misa, Sam Dickinson, Quentin Musty, welcome to the team. I guess we have to throw in more. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with giving up multiple 3rd round picks, so I guess that's what we're going to do here. Multiple 3rd rounders are thrown in, and we're finally getting this one done. Now, John Tavares, you're one of the more important pieces for the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, so we have to trade you away. You're being sent over to Carolina. Nikishin's being brought in. Unger Storm's being brought in, as well as 2 2nd round picks. I wasn't too sure if we'd be able to get those 2nd rounders, but I guess we're going to walk away with them. So Calgary, I know in basically any other universe, you would not trade Zane Prek away. However, in this universe, you are. Matthew Nyes and Brandon Carlo are going to be sent over. Perek, Hanzik, and a 2nd round picks can be acquired. We probably could have gotten another 2nd round pick, but I'm happy with the assets we got. Now, I think this is going to turn out to be one of the most underrated trades we make, but Seneca, I'm bringing you in. Now, your high top 6 potential is going to be incredibly valuable. You're already an 80 overall at 19 years old. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, 1-for-1 for Seneca. Yeah, we're going to fleece them. Even though we have to throw in some 7th round picks, it doesn't really matter. Like OEL and a 7th round pick for Seneca, No, I would be incredibly happy with that deal, but they're going to be saying no. Maybe we just give up draft picks. Like, we've acquired a handful of draft picks, so I'll give up the Calgary Flames second rounder and then maybe a third round pick as well. Actually, I could just give up Carolina's second, and I think that's what we're going to do. Calgary second rounder, Carolina's second rounder, and then we'll throw in one player. Now, I think more than likely that player is going to be Easton Cowan or something. We'll have to give them a young player. I think this deal makes the most sense for us. We're absolutely fleecing the Ducks. Yeah, that was an incredible deal. Now, this trade's not going to be as notable as some of our other ones, but Nick Watt and Joseph Hall are both going to be sent over to the Buffalo Sabres. Not really sure why they're interested in another goaltender, but we're going to make this trade anyway. Helenas, Murtka, Ostlund, and Colton Ellis are all going to be acquired in this deal. If we have to take out one of these AHL guys to throw in a pick, I'm perfectly fine with doing that. And it looks like that's what we're going to end up doing here. So I'll throw in Carolina's second rounder. That should be more than enough to get this deal done, and it looks like it will be. So we're going to continue to get rid of this old Toronto Maple Leafs core. Stolars and Max Domi are being sent over to Vancouver. Lekkernmäki's the main player we're getting in this deal, but we're also going to get a third round pick. Maybe we won't get that third round pick, but we're still going to get Lekkernmäki. Now, Morgan Rielly, I think you're really the last main piece from that Toronto Maple Leafs core. I'm talking the Matthews, Marner, Tavares, William Nylander, Morgan Rielly core. A lot of the other pieces, they've come and gone, but you're the last remaining piece from those guys. So I'm going to trade you over to Chicago. Oliver Moore, Rinzel, and a third round pick is going to be acquired. We finally got rid of that last piece from the core five, but there's still a handful of guys we have to trade. Now, this trade makes no sense for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You're going to get a little bit older by bringing in Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and you're trading away some of your great young pieces. Kindle and Brunick are both going to be brought in. They're going to play some great bottom 6 minutes for us. I mean, technically Brunick's going to play third pairing minutes, but he's still going to be a great addition to the team. Now, I think we all know it was only a matter of time before we picked up this goaltender. Askarov, welcome to the team. 83 overall with medium league potential. You're going to be a great addition. Luku Cagnoni's also going to be brought in. Dennis Hill to be Chris Tanev, a 4th and 5th rounder is going to be sent out. Askarov, you're going to be an amazing addition to the team. Luku Cagnoni, I'm not really too sure what you're going to do on our team. You're probably going to be an AHL guy for us, but Askarov, you're going to be an amazing player. Now, you know what? Luku Cagnoni, I actually might throw you into this deal, because if we can bring in Dalibor Dvorsky and Jimmy Snuggerud, those are going to be two great forward prospects for us. I think we already have enough defensive prospects, or at least we're going to get some more defensive prospects in the future. I don't really know where your fit is on this team, so I think this is going to be an amazing deal. Oldsland's also going to be traded away in this deal, but you know what? That's just the way of the road. We'll throw in a 5th round pick, and that should be enough. Maybe a 6th round pick is going to have to be thrown in as well, but it doesn't look like it. Now, before I make any more notable trades, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade a handful of these guys that are in the AHL. Players who aren't really going to be involved in that notable of deals. Basically, we just need to get these guys off the books. When I said I want this Toronto Maple Leafs team to have a fresh start, I wasn't kidding. I'm trading everyone away. So Chicago, for all these guys right here, how about you give me 2 4th round picks? I guess not. How about 1 4th round pick? I know I could probably rearrange this package a little bit more and get some more assets, but I just want to get them off the books. Now, we're just about done with all the trades we have to complete. Matthias Michelli's now going to be sent over to the Nashville Predators. Matthew Wood's going to be brought in, but on top of Matthew Wood, I think we might be able to get a 4th round pick in this deal. Unfortunately, they're going to be rejecting with the 4th round pick, so I'll just take it out. Matthew Wood, welcome to the team. Now, I think it's about time we make a deal with the Red Wings. They have a handful of decent rookies on the team. Finney, Nygaard, Kosa, I'm talking about you guys, so now we're going to pick up all 3 of you. Unfortunately, this deal hasn't been enough so far, but what if I throw in another 3rd round pick? I've acquired a lot of 3rd round picks from trading our AHL guys away, and now it's time to put those 3rd rounders to use, and we're going to use them all in this deal. Well, not quite all of them, but a majority of them. Now, we're just about done with all of our trades, but we have a couple more guys left on Toronto we got to move. Guys like Dakota Joshua and Bobby McMahon, so I'm going to send them over to the Philadelphia Flyers. Jet Luchenko is going to be brought in. Of course, we have to throw in a 6th round pick, but I'm perfectly fine with that. But how about we actually start with a 7th round pick for 2027? Maybe that will be enough. I guess they want a 6th round pick as well, so I'll give you a 6th rounder for 2026, and hopefully this is going to be enough for Jet Luchenko, and it looks like it is. So with that deal completed, I think there's only 2 or 3 more guys you have to trade away, so we don't really have too many deals left. So Cal Yarcrow, you're technically still with the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're just in the AHL right now, so it's time for us to move you, Troy Stetcher, and 2 4th rounders. Gavin Brindley, welcome to the team. You're going to be one of our key right wingers. Now, I believe this is the final deal we have to make. We need to get these 5 contracts off the books, and once we do that, we have completely revamped the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we only have rookies left. So we have gone ahead and successfully traded every player in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization for rookies. Now, this team right now doesn't look good. You can make the argument that we are one of the worst teams in the entire league, because we are the worst team in the entire league. But what does this team have right now? Potential. Every player on this team has a ton of potential. Everyone on this team is incredibly young, and they're going to grow throughout the years. So are we going to win a Stanley Cup this season? Absolutely not. Are we going to win one next season? Probably not. But once we get to year 4, year 5, we're going to be looking like one of the best teams in the league. So until then, it's going to be a quiet tank for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're not going to be doing too much. We have a handful of first round picks at play when it comes to this upcoming draft. So hopefully we can get ourselves a generational player. Also, because of the way this team is built, we're just simulating right to the end of the season. And I'm talking the end of the postseason as well, because we're obviously not going to make the playoffs. Now, considering everything, this was actually a very good season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. A 28-44-10 record. But I don't care about the record. I care about the progression. And the fact that a guy like Jimmy Snuggerud is now up to an 88 overall. He is an 88 overall after one season. Matthew Wood, 85 overall. Michael Misa, 83 overall. Kindle, 83 overall. Seneca, 83 overall. Yeah, this team's going to be dominating in the future. We might not have looked elite this season, but next season, we're taking over the NHL. Nobody's going to be able to stop us. Okay, I might be gassing this team up a little bit too much. Like, we were the worst team in the entire league. The Vancouver Canucks are Stanley Cup champions. Shout out to them. But after we get a couple good pickups at the draft, this team's going to be looking pretty good. We're definitely not going to be Stanley Cup champions next season, but we're going to be competing with the best of them. Now, when it comes to the draft, am I surprised to see that we're dropping from 1 to 3? Absolutely not. But we did have a first round pick from the Sharks that's going to be dropping from 8 to 9, so we should be able to pick up 2 solid prospects in this draft. But I guess I can't really guarantee we're going to be picking up 2 solid players in this draft, because if there's a franchise potential player projected number 1, which there isn't, I was going to make a move for him. I was going to trade up to the first overall pick if there was a franchise potential player. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case here. However, when it comes to the 9th overall pick, we might be able to get something. So we'll simulate up to the 3rd overall pick. 280 overalls with medium league potential are being selected. AJ McPherson, I think you could be a great right defenseman. I know we haven't done any scouting on you, but I have a feeling you're going to have medium league potential. We could use another right side defenseman, so we're going to go with you. You're only a 74 overall right now, but you fit what we're building. Now, moving forward, we're going to simulate pick by pick, because there is a chance that we might have to move up a little bit in the draft. When it comes to the 8th overall pick, who is going to be left? Belchis was just selected 7th overall. Is there still a medium league potential player left on the board? Yes, there is, and I think we should make a move for them. So Anaheim, I'm looking to trade for the 8th overall pick. I'll give you the 9th overall and something else. So I'll give you the 9th overall and the 89th overall pick. Hopefully that's going to be enough to move up 1 spot. I think it might be. They're saying no, but we just need to add a little bit more. So here's a 5th rounder from the Calgary Flames. That's going to be enough for us to jump up 1 spot and get a medium league potential player. The big thing about us moving up in the draft is we're guaranteed to get medium league potential here. When it came to the 9th overall pick, I wasn't 100% sure if we would get a medium league potential player or not. And what's going to happen here? Well, it looks like he's going to be a medium top 6 potential forward. So yeah, that was definitely a trade worth making. Now, when it comes to the 27th overall, we're getting from the Minnesota Wild. We're just going to go with the best player available, and that's going to be this medium top 6 potential forward, starting off as a 67 overall. Let's just keep things simple. Now, there is a little bit of money that we're going to have to spend during the re-sign phase, but not a ton. Nikishin, we're going to have to bring you back to the team. I don't know what your contract's going to be like, but 4.9 million, I don't hate that, but I want to save a little bit of money. So here's 4.5 for the next 3 seasons. I think that contract's going to age really well for us. And then when it comes to goaltending, Sebastian Cossa needs a deal, but we're probably just going to do a 2-way contract, and that's exactly what we're doing. Now, I don't think we're going to sign either of these medium league potential players. We're going to give them another season to develop, so we're basically just going to run it back with the exact same team. However, we will make a couple adjustments to the coaching staff. Now, we didn't have to spend too much money during the re-sign phase, but now it's time to hand out the big bags. Jimmy Snuggerud is going to be receiving the first one, but honestly, this isn't nearly as bad as I thought. 7.5 for the next 5 years for our top player. I can definitely work with that. Z Boyum, how much are you going to be looking for? $6 million for the next 5? Yeah, we're locking everyone down. Here's 5.7 for the next 5 years. Matthew Wood, you couldn't possibly be looking for too much. You want 4.3 million. How about we get that down to 3.9? Actually, that's a little bit low. I'll do 4.1 for the next 3 seasons. Next up is going to be Sam Renzel. He's looking for around $3.5 million. How about we do 3.2 for the next 3 years? That's a really solid contract for him. Dalibor Dvorsky, you play good bottom 6 minutes for me, so I can do 2.1 for 1 season. Now, when it comes to basically everyone else's contract, I don't think it's going to be really too much money. Leckermack here's 2.4 for 1 season. Hanzek, we're looking at 1.7 for 1 season. Oliver Moore is probably going to be the exact same with you. It's actually going to be 1.7 for 2 seasons though. Quentin Musty, we're probably going to be looking at a 2-way contract. Here's $975K. And then Unger Sorum will finish it off with you. It's going to be another 2-way contract. You're going to be returned to the team. But we can't just stop there, of course. We have goaltenders we need to sign. Ashcroft, you want 7.7 million. That's quite a bit, especially since I'm not 100% sure if you're going to be our starting goaltender. Like, Jesper Wallstedt looked pretty solid last season, but how about I do 6.9 for the next 3 years. And then Jesper Wallstedt, I'll bring you back to the team as well, but you want 9.2 million. What if I do a no movement in that final season? If I give you a no movement in that final season, we can probably save a little bit of money. And you know what? We can definitely save money here. We probably can save $1 million. It's actually going to end up being a little bit more than that. How about 7.5 for the next 4 years? Yeah, we're saving a ton of money in a deal like this. So we've re-signed everyone we have to re-sign. Now when it comes to free agent signings, we're not making any. I'm not allowed to make any free agent signings in this video. I traded the entire Toronto Maple Leafs roster for rookies, and we're going to stick with those rookies we traded for. And when it comes to any moves that we want to make moving forward, we have to trade for rookies. So I can't go out and just trade for a superstar player. If I want to bring someone to the team, they have to be a rookie as well. But for season number 2, I don't think we're really going to do too much here. I don't really have to change the team up. It's just another year of development for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Expectations are a lot higher heading into season number 2. I think the wild card is too high of expectations, but you know what? Anything is possible. Now through the progression of all of these young guys, the team is looking way better this season. We have a handful of higher overalls. There's just more depth on this team from top to bottom. However, we can't ignore the fact that we're just not an elite team quite yet. Ashcroft's an 87, Jesper Wallace is an 86, so our goaltending tandem is set. We don't have to worry about that. However, in 3 years time or even 4 years time, is this team going to be good enough to win a Stanley Cup? I'm not 100% sold yet, but you guys still have a lot of time to prove me wrong. I'm actually not going to simulate right to the end of the postseason just in case by some miracle the Toronto Maple Leafs make the playoffs. However, I highly doubt that's going to be happening. Now I have no clue how to explain this season. I just need to point a couple things out. So the LA Kings are going to make the playoffs, 17th in the entire league, a 40-33-9 record. Now you might be wondering, why am I pointing out the LA Kings? I think you know why I'm pointing out the LA Kings. The Toronto Maple Leafs 21st in the entire league, a 40-37-5 record. So in reality, it wasn't too different from the LA Kings. Jimmy Snuggerud's once again going to lead the way, but he's dropped to an 85 overall, because that makes so much sense. After being an 88 overall or an 89 overall at the beginning of the season, he has dropped in overall. We didn't really see any crazy progression this season. I'm not really too sure why. When it comes to goaltending, Ashcroft is obviously the guy. 33 wins, 5 shots, a 917 to 268. Jesper Wallstedt wasn't quite good enough for us to get into the postseason. But when it comes to our Stanley Cup winner, it's the LA Kings. The LA Kings are winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. It was a very interesting season. We saw some very interesting progression. I'm not really too sure what we're going to do over the offseason. I think we just got to give these guys another year to develop. But there's one thing that's going to help us a ton. Us getting the 6th overall pick from the San Jose Sharks, and then us making a play for the 1st overall, because we desperately need it. So the Montreal Canadiens own the 1st overall pick, and we all know that pick is going to be Landon Dupont, but it isn't. Okay, that makes things very interesting. The guy projected 1st overall is a franchise potential power forward. I would like to draft him and Landon Dupont. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but we're going to try to make some big plays. I am just trying to get a deal done. At this point, I don't care what it takes. I want the 1st overall pick from the Montreal Canadiens. We'll be able to draft a superstar and a guy that's going to completely turn our franchise around. It's a little bit low. What else do I have to throw in? I'll give you the 44th overall. Hopefully this is going to be enough to get the deal done. They're still saying no. We might have to trade the 6th overall. We're going to change this package up slightly. I'm going to throw this massive deal at the Montreal Canadiens. They're saying no. I'll give you a 2nd round pick. I'll give you the 44th overall. Please accept this. We don't have a lot of time left. Perfect. We got the 1st overall pick. Now what we're going to do is call a timeout here so we have a little bit more time, and we're going to talk to Utah now. So I'll trade this other player that we drafted last season away. I'll give up the 13th overall. I almost traded the 1st overall by accident, and then this should be enough for the 2nd overall pick. They're going to be rejecting it. That's perfectly fine. I'm willing to give up basically every draft pick imaginable. I don't care what it takes at this point. Honestly, I might even be willing to trade Sam Dickinson away. Maybe we shouldn't trade Sam Dickinson away. Maybe one of our other defensemen. Like I guess Murtka, I could throw you into this deal. I doubt you're going to make the difference. If you did, you would have been an absolute game changer for us. What else should we throw in? I really want to get this deal done. I would love to bring in Landon Dupont as well. Like maybe I should trade Matthew Wood away. I don't really want to trade him away though. You're off. I'm not really that attached to you. What'd you do for me last season? 22 goals and 25 helpers, so maybe I should hold on to you. Lecker Mackey, you're really hit or miss. I never know what I'm going to get with you. I know we do have a surplus of centermen on the team, so Oliver Moore, I'll throw you into this deal. Hopefully this is going to be enough for the 2nd overall. It's a little bit low. We need somebody a little bit more valuable than Oliver Moore. Or do we just trade somebody away that has a little bit more value than Murtka? The guy I'm thinking about, Rinzel. So maybe we'll throw Rinzel in this deal instead. Oliver Moore, I can ship you out as well, but I also could just trade away a different centerman. But I think we're just going to stick with Oliver Moore for now. So is this enough for the 2nd overall pick? There we go. but we have back-to-back picks, the first overall and the second overall. So we're going to start with this player right here, an 81 overall power forward, medium franchise potential, and then we're bringing in Landon Dupont as well. So 2 medium franchise potential players to build our team around. Landon Dupont, I'll give you 1 season to develop in juniors, and then you'll be joining the team next season. Those were 2 big time trades, 2 massive steals for us. The Stanley Cup's now just around the corner for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now Landon Dupont, I'm not going to give you your entry level contract quite yet. I want to give you 1 more season to develop, so when you join the team, you're going to be like an 83, 84 overall. So Mertka, you're going to have to play some good third pairing minutes for me next season. I'm expecting big things from you. You know who else I'm expecting big things from? Zane Parekh, but he's going to be signing an incredible contract with the team, 5.5 for the next 5. That deal is definitely going to work out for us. Yurov, I think you're going to be looking for a little bit too much money. You want 9.6 million. You know what? We can make this happen because I'll give you a no movement clause in that final season. Then we'll be able to save some money. We're going to be looking at around $8 million for the next 4 years. That's definitely going to help our contract situation, but I guess we have to do 8.3. I can still work with that. Gavin Brindley, hopefully you don't ask for too much. You only want a 1-year deal at 3.4 million. Honestly, I can work with that. I'll actually do 3.3 for 1 season. Hanzek, I can't give you an extension quite yet. Kindle, how much are you going to be looking for? $2 million for the next 3, an absolute steal. Seneca, you're going to be one of the final players we have to give an extension to. I'll do 3.7 million for the next 2 years, but it turns out I absolutely lied. There's 4 more players that need deals. Nygaard, here's 925k. Brunik, you're probably not going to look for too much. Here's 1.8 for the next 3. Sam Dickinson will do a cheap deal with you. Here's 2.2 for the next 2. And then Finney will finish it all off with you. I'll give you 1.2 for 1 season. So with all these extensions handed out, we're not going to make any trades because we made 2 major moves at the draft. We brought in 2 generational talents, and I guess since we brought in those generational talents, we might as well sign one of them. I've made it very clear Landon Dupont's going to get another season to develop, but Christensen, you're jumping on the team immediately. You're playing first line minutes for me next season. Jimmy Snuggerud, you're moving down to the second line, but maybe not because he's a right winger / left winger. Matthew Wood, you might move down to the second line. So here's the lines we're running heading into this season. The forward core is looking spectacular. However, we could use some more help when it comes to our center depth. Like, that's not looking the greatest in the world, but you know what? We're going to make it work here. When it comes to our defense, that's looking really good right now. And then once Landon Dupont joins this defense, we're going to be unstoppable. And then when it comes to our goaltending, yeah, we're never going to have to worry about that. Goaltending is the lone thing we don't have to worry about because we got 2 future superstars. So it's only a matter of time before the Toronto Maple Leafs win a Stanley Cup. Is it going to be this season? Is it going to be next season or the year after that? One of these years, we're going to be bringing it home. Now, it's a bit of a shame, but we weren't able to build on the momentum from last season. We were one of the worst teams in the entire league, and we don't even own our first round pick. But you know what? That's perfectly fine, because last season, we traded our first round pick away in order for us to get a franchise potential player. And I am perfectly fine with trading a second overall pick for a franchise potential player. Christensen's up to an 84 overall. Landon Dupont's going to be jumping into the lineup next season. I think next season's where this team's going to take their next step. They're going to figure it all out next season. Everyone's going to be on the same page. They're all going to take that next step together, and we're finally going to see a little bit of postseason action. Before we head to the draft, though, we might as well hand out some extensions because we do have to pay some players, starting with Lekker-Maku, who is one of our top players. He's looking for 5.2 million, but of course, we're going to save money like always. Here's 4.8 for the next 3 years. Hanzik's up to an 84 overall, so it's time for him to get paid. We're going to give him a 3x3. That's a nice deal with him. Dalibor Dvorsky, you're a St. Louis Blues legend. You have to be paid accordingly, so here's 2.3 for the next 2 years. And then Unger Sorum, I think you're just playing AHL minutes for me right now, so here's a 2-way contract. But let's go ahead and simulate up to the draft and be incredibly disappointed. Let's watch this pick jump from 2 to 1. If I owned this pick, it wouldn't jump from 2 to 1, but instead it's actually going to drop from 2 to 3, so we gave up the 3rd overall pick for a franchise potential player. At the end of the day, that trade worked out for us. Now, you know what? There is a chance that things end up working out for us. As long as Montreal passes on the player I want them to pass on, then we're going to have to make a deal with the Calgary Flames. All right, Calgary, I need you to accept this deal. I'm going to give you a future first-round pick. I'm trading you our first-round pick for next season. I'll even give you a second rounder as well, but I want the 4th overall pick from you guys. They're going to be rejecting that deal. That's perfectly fine. I have assets I could throw into this deal, and I think one of those assets is going to be Hanzek. I know I just gave him an extension, but you are replaceable, especially with the guy that we're going to be bringing in. This is an absolute steal for us. So with the 4th overall pick, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to draft Maddox Schultz. He's jumping into the lineup next season. He's probably going to even play some second line minutes. We have all the franchise stars we need. Now, the only thing we need moving forward is development. Development in time is going to lead this team to a Stanley Cup. Granted, that is what Toronto Maple Leafs fans have thought in the past. The Toronto Maple Leafs sorta did this. They brought in a bunch of franchise potential players. I'm talking William Nylander, I'm talking Austin Matthews, I'm talking Mitch Marner, and they believed eventually it would work out for them. That did not happen. But in this new universe, with Stick on the Ice as the GM, I know a thing or two about a thing or two, and I will win this team a Stanley Cup with this core. Also, we got a lowly potential defenseman, so I thought I'd give him a shout out. So Maddox Schultz, as I mentioned, you're jumping into the lineup this season. You're going to play some second line minutes. I am really hoping though that Landon Dupont progresses a little bit more before we head into next season. Like right now he's only a 76 overall. I need you a little bit higher than that. But on top of calling those guys up, we do have to hand out some extensions. Nikishin's going to be looking for a new deal, and we're going to do multiple years. Actually, no, we aren't. We're just going to do 1 year with him. I'll do $5.8 million for one season, then we'll figure out a new deal with you after that. Quentin Musty, I'd like to do multiple years. Could we do a 3-year deal? You aren't opposed to a 3-year deal, but what about a 4-year deal? That's what we're doing with Quentin Musty. We'll do like $3 million for the next 4 years. Actually, we're going to have to do a little bit more than that. How about we do 3.5 for the next 4 years? He's not really 100% sold on that, so how about I take a year away and we do like 3.2 million? I think 3.2 for the next 3 years is a very good deal with Quentin Musty, especially considering he's going to keep on getting better. Helenis, it's probably going to be a 2-way contract. That's exactly what it is. And then Jet Luchenko, I'm going to keep it a stack. I completely forgot you were on this team, so here's $900K for the next 2. Now, I think it's finally time for the Toronto Maple Leafs to make the playoffs. I think this team right here is good enough to make the postseason. Landon Dupont's jumped up to an 85 overall. That's exactly what I was looking for. He's probably going to be a 90 overall next season. We know what goaltending's about here, and when it comes to our forward core, Maddox Schultz is an 83 overall, Michael Meese is an 87, Lecker Mackey 86, Christensen's an 86. We have the players here, we have the grit, we have the grind, and that's what this Maple Leafs team has been needing for a long time. This team right here likes to win, but they hate to lose games, and that is very different than the current Toronto Maple Leafs team. Alright, I'm starting to think there might be a slight problem with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're not winning games, 20th in the entire league, a 39-37-6 record. The crazy thing is, after the first 30 games of the season, we were actually second in our division. We were absolutely dominating, and then the rest of the season happened, and we sucked. Like, we were absolutely atrocious after that 30 game mark. I don't know what happened. The Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. They're going to take down the Colorado Avalanche, but I have to show you what I'm talking about. Like, don't get me wrong, we were not elite by any means, but we had like a 20-10-3 record or something, and then something switched. Like, we had back-to-back losses, a shootout win, then loss after loss after loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. We strung back-to-back wins together, but then after that, it was 2 losses for every win. We just couldn't get anything going. Once December hit, something completely collapsed for this team. We just couldn't figure it out after that, and that's going to result in us missing the postseason. But you know what? There's one thing that we can celebrate. Everyone's under contract. All of these guys are still really young. They're going to be even better next season, but I need somebody to start scoring goals for me. Also, we traded the 13th overall pick to the Calgary Flames. That's perfectly fine though. We got Maddox Schultz from them last season, so it was worth it. Okay, this is going to make things very interesting. In the 3rd round, we just got ourselves a medium league potential player. Now, it's going to take a long time for this guy to develop. However, we have to remember the rule I made earlier. I'm allowed to make trades if I trade for rookies. And you know what? We need help scoring goals. And there was an 82 overall sniper just drafted 1st overall. I think we all know what I'm about to do. Okay, plans slightly changed just based on trade blocks, but this medium league potential player that we drafted, we're actually going to send him over to Pittsburgh. We're bringing in Peterson. After we acquire him, we're then going to flip him over to Utah and get the player that we actually want. So that medium league potential player, along with all these draft picks right here, should be enough. They're saying no. I guess I can throw in another forward. Like, are y'all interested in Ben Kindle? I know for a fact that you are, because at one point you had him on the team, so it's time for me to send him back over to Pittsburgh. They're rejecting that offer. I'll throw in 3 draft picks, and that should be enough. So we're getting a medium league potential player I'm not really that interested in. However, it will work out for us. We'll just flip him elsewhere. So here's a 2nd rounder as well. Pittsburgh's not accepting the deal. I'll throw in these 2 draft picks right here, and this will be enough. So Peterson, welcome to the team. I'm flipping you over to Utah now. That's assuming you fit Utah's trade block. I probably should have checked that first, but luckily he does fit Utah's trade block, and I'm hoping we can go 1-for-1. I highly doubt it though. I will offer 1-for-1 though, just to see what they're saying. They need a little bit more, so I'll give you a 5th and 6th round pick. Actually, we don't have that. I'll give you a 6th and 7th round pick, and this will be enough for the sniper that we desperately need. This team needs goal scoring, and we just picked up an elite goal scorer. Now, when it comes to the re-sign phase, not too much money is going to be spent, but there is a couple key guys that we have to bring back. Gavin Brindley is one of them. but $5 million seems like a little bit much, but you know what? We don't have any other choice. Here's 5.1 for the next 2 years. Hopefully that contract doesn't backfire on us. Nygaard, I'll bring you in for $2 million for the next 3. I think that's a great deal. And then Finney, how much money are you going to be looking for? $800K for 1 season? That's a steal. Truthfully, I probably should have done multiple years there, but you know what? We're not going to worry too much about that one. And then of course, we're bringing in that sniper immediately. He's probably going to play third line mints next season, or at least that's the plan for him. Now I think moving forward, we should pay a little bit more attention to the contracts we're handing out. Christensen, you're looking for $10 million, but I'm actually not concerned anymore. I just realized we have $45 million in extension dollars, so yeah, I'm not worried in the slightest now. However, I do want to save money where possible. Like Dalibor Dvorsky, I can't give you $6.1 million. Seneca, you want $5 million. That's going to hurt us a little bit, but you know what? We'll find a way to get it done. Like I'll do 4.3 for the next 2 seasons. Sam Dickinson, I need a cheap contract with you. How much do you want? $2.9 million. That's a perfect deal. Martka, I'm going to keep you around at a cheap price as well. Actually, I'm not going to give you an extension because I don't even think you're in the lineup for us. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. And then Matthew Wood, let's do a cheap deal. 2.2 for the next 2 years. That's what I'm looking for. I guess Ascroft also needs an extension. He's going to want an absolute bag. 9.2 million isn't terrible, but I'm not going to give you 9.2 million. Instead, I'm going to give you 8.6, and I'm also going to give you a no movement. And by giving you a no movement, we're going to get that down to 8.5 for the next 8 seasons. All right, now over the past handful of seasons, I made a critical mistake. So I got rid of the entire Toronto Maple Leafs organization, except for one person, and I'm not talking about a player, but a coach. I still had Craig Berube as our head coach, so clearly that was the problem for this team. If we really want to reset the Toronto Maple Leafs, Craig Berube, although I think you're an incredible coach, you have to move on as well. So Berube's gone, we brought in Rod Brindamore to replace him. Now that we've done that, this team is going to be unstoppable, and they're finally going to see some postseason action. So clearly getting rid of Craig Berube was the answer all along. 3rd in the entire league, but 3rd in our division, because the Montreal Canadiens and Florida Panthers are both ahead of us, and they're both in our division. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough first round matchup. We're taking on Montreal, a 48-27-7 record. The team's finally looking good. It brings a tear to my eye. They have finally figured it out. You're off 90 points, Michael Misa 88 points, Christensen 80 points, including 55 goals. The goal scoring is flying now. I think this team finally has something. We're building something special here. Jesper Wallstedt, 38 wins, 1 shot, a 906 and a 297. That's very interesting. Now you might be wondering why those numbers are interesting. Well, supposedly Ascroft's our starter heading into the postseason, and we're clearly not going to do that. If Wallstedt was the guy the entire regular season, he's going to be the guy for the postseason. We're not switching goaltenders now. So I've gone ahead and made Jesper Wallstedt the starting goaltender for the postseason. Like, I have no clue why we would turn to Ascroft. That doesn't really make any sense. We're winning game number 1 and we're winning game number 2. A sweep over Montreal would go crazy right now. Unfortunately, we're not going to sweep them. We're going to take them down 5 games and move on to the second round. Don't do this. Don't you dare do this. I swear, if we blow a 3-0 series lead in our first postseason appearance to the Montreal Canadiens, I'm gonna lose it. Y'all were 1 game away. You needed 1 more victory, and in Toronto Maple Leaf fashion, you are gonna choke this away, aren't you? Luckily, in Game 7, we're going to find a way to win this one, but I thought the old Toronto Maple Leafs had shown up. I thought they were going to choke this one away, and we were going to be eliminated in the first round after being up 3-1. No, that would have been a crazy way to go out. We're moving on to the second round, but now we get to take on the best team in the entire league in the Florida Panthers. Now, Florida's definitely going to put up a bigger fight than the Montreal Canadiens did. Then again, Montreal, I don't really know what was going on in that series. Like, they didn't put up a fight through the first 3 games. Like, Montreal completely folded, and then they put up a massive fight in the next 4 games after that. So did they put up a big fight? I'm not really too sure. They gave us the first 3 games and then reappeared right after that. And when they reappeared, they were absolutely locked in. We need 1 more victory before we can move on to the conference finals, and we're going to get that win in game number 6. So we're moving on to the conference finals. In our first postseason appearance, we have already won more rounds than that previous Toronto Maple Leafs core. That's ridiculous. We're taking on the New York Islanders. The Islanders should be a pretty solid team by now, but I guess they can't really compete with Toronto. Then again, we've split the series. Why am I trying to gas up this Toronto Maple Leafs team so much? It's a best of 3 moving on, with game number 5 being the most important game, and we're going to win that one. So win me 1 more game and we can advance to the Stanley Cup final. We're here. In postseason appearance number 1 with the Toronto Maple Leafs, we've made it to the Stanley Cup final, and all I need is 4 more wins. 4 more victories is going to make this team Stanley Cup champions, but can we get those 4 wins right here? Well, after winning the first 2 games, we're dropping back-to-back games after that. So once again, it's a best best of 3 moving forward. We need to win game number 5, and that's what we're going to do. So close it out in game 6. Give me one more victory right here. Just like that, the Toronto Maple Leafs are Stanley Cup champions. I traded this entire team for rookies, and in postseason appearance number 1, we're Stanley Cup champions. Nah, like, you can't make that up. In postseason appearance number 1, we're Stanley Cup champions. This team didn't need 9 years to figure it out. They needed 1 year to figure it out. One postseason to figure it out. Lekermacki, 20 points. Michael Misa, 19 points. Christensen, 18 points. Land Dupont, 17. Maddox Schultz, 16. We had great scoring, but you know what helped us the most? Jesper Wallstedt posting a 922 and a 250. 16 wins, 1 shutout. He was absolutely locked in. And in the 2 games Ashcroft had to play, a 947 and a 152. I can't complain about those numbers. The Toronto Maple Leafs are Stanley Cup champions. We went ahead and traded the entire team away for rookies, and with those rookies, we were able to build a Stanley Cup winning team. But there was one thing we had to do before we won this Stanley Cup. We had to get rid of Craig Berube. He was the last piece holding this team back.